bonus content episode 4. So this is sort of a spiritual successor to the episode that I last put out, which was the Terry Van Dyke defending a mansion versus defending a shed video that I put out. And the reason why this stemmed from there is that I had some extra thoughts on it in terms of how it impacts players in an 11v11 sense, in a broader sense, as opposed to just with defenders. So the time is on. So the reason why it stemmed from there is that defenders, they're very easy to evaluate in isolated actions, and they're much easier to see. A slide tackle is always visible, as opposed to, and you're more likely to see that and judge that positively, as opposed to someone heading the ball away in a transition where no actual counter-attack happens because it was just a long ball punted upfield. It's like, oh, that's it, that's all he had to do. Forget the fact that the ball went to his opposition. Forget the fact that the ball didn't go to the opposition player when he headed it, and he headed it out to his own teammate. He sustained the attack, and he muscled off the striker who wanted to run the channels because of the fact that he got in front of him. He got his body between him and the ball, and he stopped the counter-attack before it even really turned into anything meaningful. So what I wanted to talk about here is, in the 2.5 minutes I have left, 2 minutes, is that a player, they can impact themselves positively or they can impact the entire team positively. It's rare. Oftentimes you can do both, but a lot of the time it ends up being one or the other, especially with the less great players. So you don't get the best version of that player whilst also getting the best version of that team. It's rare that those two things go in the exact same alignment. Very rare players do bring that off. Messi does it, Yamal does it. Those are two examples, one from yesteryear, one from today, because obviously Messi's functionally done. Whereas some other players, if you bring the best version out of them, you won't necessarily bring the best version of the team. Look at my favourite player, Mbappe. If you bring the best version out of him now, the chances are you're not going to get the best version of the team just because of the player that he is now. So you need to make him a cog, you need to make him slightly worse as an individual to improve the ceiling of the team. Very often, what's good for the ant isn't good for the ant farm. And as a result, what you end up getting is players who are platformed, and that may not actually be what's best for the team and their aspirations of winning. There are several players you could attribute this to. For example, Cristiano in 2015. Do I believe he could have still dribbled and ran at players? Yes. Well, that's probably 2016, 17, 18. Do I believe he could have still dribbled and ran at players? Yes. Do I believe that Real Madrid win Champions Leagues that way? No. So you sacrifice the best version of him for the best version of the team, which is ultimately what matters here, because winning is what is remembered in your legacy. There are obviously other players who fit this bill. Mbappe, unfortunately, went from a player who, if you platform him, it's best for your team, to now it's where you need to reduce his scope as a player due to where he is as a player. And it's unfortunate, but different players go through different spells of this in their time. So when you're evaluating players, that's something you should always keep in mind, because ultimately you're not just evaluating them, you're evaluating the impact that they have upon their team. And if they're not positively impacting the rest of their teammates alongside them, and they're just making themselves look better, and they're not winning a bunch of games, and when I mean a bunch of games, I mean serious title contention, then questions need to be had. That's time. Then questions need to be had about how valuable that player is in the best version of himself, as opposed to a reduced version of himself, which gives his team a better chance at winning. Because ultimately, the ultimate scope of how good a player you are is how good of a chance that you give your team at winning. And if the best version of you doesn't do that and a lesser version does, then that will increase your value long term, as opposed to just short term with lovely highlight reels that people on Twitter will gorge over. So that's what I've got for you today. Like, comment, subscribe, and leave your thoughts below. If you disagree, if you do agree, whatever, then, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye bye.